Item J, Superintendent's Report. I will call on Dr. Bolson.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. July is normally the month in which school boards have their shortest meeting of the year. This is an unusual year, obviously. So thank you to everyone for sticking with us. This was a lot of important stuff tonight. Just a couple of quick things. I like the rest of you, I certainly want to take this opportunity to welcome and congratulate Phoebe Bailey for joining us. Sounds like we had some technical difficulties tonight, but we will have an opportunity to hear from her and about her work at our August meeting. I've asked our team to bring back some initial findings from the survey that we kicked off last month under the sort of leadership of Ms. Bailey and Mr. Walker on the topic of racism and implicit bias. I think this last conversation about renaming of courses is connected to that topic. It's very much a pertinent topic and something that we expect to continue to make progress with. And so I hope that you'll find we have the survey closed on Friday, and so we had approximately 4,000 responses. And I've had a brief glimpse at some of the closed-ended responses, but like with our digital learning survey, so much of what we learned from that survey came from the open-ended, and that takes a little bit longer to analyze. So we'll be doing as much of that as we can prior to our next board meeting and starting the conversation about, what do we learn from the survey, and then what can we do? What are some actual action steps we can take to create a school system where we can take on the challenges we have related to racism and implicit bias. This is a really important conversation. We're moving this forward kind of in lockstep with everything we're doing with regard to opening in this pandemic. But we know this pandemic has underscored the inequities we have in our school system, as it's done that around the country. And it's so important that we take this on just as aggressively. So we'll be bringing that back in August. And finally, you heard a little bit about this evening. We do have the town hall Q&A 5:30 on Wednesday. One thing I'll need to be thinking about, I've been pondering here for the last little bit since I made the presentation of the recovery plan, that I'm going to need to very much shorten my presentation, so we reserve the majority of the time for questions and answers, which would mean I'd like to appeal to people to go in, look at the plan to the best of their ability to kind of get make sure that we've taken away some things from tonight, so I'm not redoing the entire presentation again. I'll do a quick overview, but we really want that night to be about discussion. So now to attend that, you can visit the website or Facebook for the link to the live event on Microsoft Teams. You do not need a Microsoft Teams account to participate. You'll be able to submit questions during the live event. Like I said, I'll offer an overview of the recovery plan, and then we'll, as quickly as possible, turn over to questions, and we will have staff there, as we had this evening, available to help answer those questions. And we'll be looking at the questions that came up, particularly during public comment and also in the board discussion this evening, to see if there's any sort of quick responses that we weren't able to touch on tonight. So again, thank you to everybody. A lot of really important work tonight. And I'll be in touch and hopefully see many of you on Wednesday. Have a great night.
You're welcome.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 11:11. Our next meeting is going to be August 10th at 6:30. This meeting is adjourned.